I've got another geographical surprise for you. I'm in San Diego, California. Well, actually, I'm in Escondido, California, but that's close enough. And look who's with me. It's Captain. He's my little Lazarus, back from the dead.
Maximalist mini bus with Mary and Captain and you. Get on the bus!
If you saw my last video, you saw that Captain wasn't doing too well. He was hospitalized 3 times in a week. I really thought I was going to lose him. I really did. And I was really struggling because I had to figure out how to make things work for him going forward, and at lower altitude in Arizona, it's still really hot. The heat is way too much for him. And at higher altitude, his heart can't take it. So I really didn't know where I was going to go. I couldn't even wrap my head around a solution. But after I posted the last video, I heard from Christine, who is the person who rescued Captain in the first place. 5 years ago, she saw a little picture on Facebook. He was a code red at a high kill shelter in Downey, California. They had named him Arlo at the time, and a lot of dogs here, and she rushed in to save little Arlo for a rescue group called Scratch My Belly. So she and his foster mom, Stacy, between the two of them, they had him for like 8 months before we found each other. And Captain and I have been traveling together happily ever since, until last week when his congestive heart failure seemed like it was gonna end the ride together. But then Christine saw the video, and she called me and she said Captain and I should come to her house in Escondido. That was the answer. Because, there's only one place you can go that's both low altitude and cool, and that's you can go toward the coast, toward the ocean. Escondido is not actually on the coast. It's inland from San Diego, so it's not quite as cool as San Diego, but it's definitely a lot cooler than Phoenix. So she said also that if we came here, we could plug into her electricity so we could run the AC all day if we needed to give Captain a chance to get better. After Captain got out of the hospital in Prescott Valley, I drove him straight down to Phoenix, where it's lower altitude, and we checked into the Motel 6, where it's nice and cool thanks to air conditioning. Christine and I made a plan that we would meet, and she would drive him in her air-conditioned car back here to San Diego, while I followed in the not air-conditioned and slower-moving bus. But on the way to meet Christine, the bus started making this really horrible, really awful, rattling, god-awful sound, and I barely made it to the meeting spot, and I handed Captain off. When my roadside assistance guy came, he said it sounded like a catastrophic engine failure, basically. So Christine took Captain to Escondido, and I took Max, with the help of a tow truck, to my favorite mechanics at Callahan Auto and Diesel in Mesa, Arizona. And I spent the night in their parking lot in the bus. It's not the first time I've slept in their parking lot. It was not an easy night because I was without my baby boy, but also because it was crazy hot. But my friend Brad, thank you, Brad. Brad came by and took me to Denny's, so that saved me for a little while. But I checked the temperature at midnight, and it was still 101 degrees in that parking lot. I made it, though, and in the morning, Bob, the service manager, gave me some idea what I was looking at for cost, and after I was done fainting, he also told me that I couldn't stay in the bus because it was going to have to be in the bay for diagnostics and then repair, assuming I could figure out how to afford the repair. So thanks again to Christine, I was able to use her frequent flyer miles to get to San Diego, and I was reunited with Captain. We're staying in the guest room at Christine's house, and he's been doing great here. Meanwhile, I was struggling to figure out how I was going to pay for the enormous bill for Max until I got a call from Bob telling me that the problem is it's not engine failure. Thank God something is simpler than it seemed to be. Right now, it seems like instead of being engine failure, the issue is, the person who put in my transmission back in March, yes, we're back on the transmission again. That person, who was supposedly the only good mechanic in Quartzsite, that person put both the flex plate and the main seal on wrong, which means that there's actually no good mechanic in Quartzsite. Anyway, it's fixable, and apparently I'm very lucky that the whole thing didn't just explode on me sooner. There was damage done, though. I'm not going to kid you, it's not going to be cheap, but it's not going to be as expensive as internal engine failure. It cost me the rest of my emergency fund, but that's what emergency funds are for, right? The first part of it went to pay Captain's bill, Now I have no emergency fund. I have to build it up again before anything else happens. But I'm grateful that I did have it when I needed it. I had it when I had an emergency. And speaking of that, thanks so much to those of you who sent gifts through Venmo or PayPal, or the thanks button, or through the little fundraiser that Christine set up on her Facebook page. It means a lot. From here, the plan is I'm going to be flying back to Arizona in time for Kat's exploratory surgery in the beginning of next week. And for those of you who are new to the channel, Kat is not a cat. I should say that Kat is my human friend, and she is facing cancer. So I'm going to pick the bus up. I'm going to drive up to Flagstaff to get her. The two of us are going to drive back down to Phoenix and stay at the motel the night before and probably the night after her surgery, which is in Phoenix. And then I'll bring her back up to her camp in Flagstaff. After I do that, I'll head back down here to Escondido, where Captain is going to be. Where Captain and I go next is going to depend on the temperature. If it gets cool enough for us to go to the low desert, we will. But even though Captain is doing really well here, he's not ever going to be able to go to altitude again. So if the only cool place in Arizona is going to be in the mountains, then we will stay here near the coast because that's where it's going to be cooler. It also depends what ends up happening with Kat, what's going to be next for her. So I may go back to Arizona and leave Captain here. Just depends what the timetable for her treatment is going to be and all that. The good news is that we were able to get her pain management kind of dialed in at the last appointment, so she is feeling a lot better. I'll update you on that when there's more to say. Captain is also feeling a lot better. Dr. Jackson at Yavapai Animal Hospital in Prescott Valley, she added a blood pressure medicine to the heart medications he was already taking, and it just seems to have made a huge difference because, wow, he really bounced back. He seems like he's totally fine now. Being here at Christine's also gave him a chance to recover. As you can see, he's got friends here, both canine and human, and I am so grateful to Christine. Christine has actually rescued this dog twice, and I'll be honest, she rescued me too. I mean, I know I'm going to lose Captain eventually because mortality is not something that any of us are going to escape, but I'm not ready, and now it's pretty clear that he's not ready either. If you want to know more about this little guy and about Christine and what her role in the whole thing was, you can see more in this video up here, which is the video from when I first met Captain. That tells the whole story. And I'm going to be updating you soon on both Captain and Kat. But before then, I'm probably going to start posting videos from the trip across the U.S. So if you're getting impatient with all the talky videos and you want to see something actually happen, don't worry, it's coming. Either way, I'm going to see you soon.
Get on the bus!